It's a beautiful day in an undisclosed location in northeastern Arizona, and I'm here with Eddie Glonek of Mobile Homestead Services.
And mobile homesteading.
You'd think I'd know that by now.
It's all right.
We're here once again because, as many of you know, the old Rockwood MiniLite 2107S from 2017, which we've put 5 years of mods and been on wonderful adventures, has a broken frame, and so it's now in a somewhat vacated state. The cracks are underneath, the biggest cracks are underneath this slide, and there's a long blog post about how we found it and how we determined that this unit is toast. And so we slowly started moving things from the old to the new, and when I say we, I mean mostly Eddie.
You did parts too.
But probably the first thing we did was to move the solar panels, right?
Yep. Yeah, we took all your solar panels off the original one here. We had 8 on there. The all but 2 were, or all but 1 was a 175. The rest were 100-watt panels. One of the 100-watt panels wouldn't fit up here because you already had 2. What did we figure? 170-watt panels.
Yes, two ZAMP panels that were either previous owner or the original install.
Yep.
ZAMP, and then there was one that we affectionately refer to as the pizza box because it was a really odd square size, which is now on top of the MiniLite to trickle charge the batteries.
So the one panel that we couldn't put up there because of all the different things on your roof, you're using as an external panel. So if you go into a campground or something and you got shade, you've got that ability to get a little bit more solar energy from that extra one. So in a sense, you took all your panels that used to be on this camper and put it on your new one.
And so without getting new panels, we now have, we'll walk up on the roof in a second, we now have over 1,000 watts, which is a kilowatt, which to some people means something, and to me it's ridiculous, but I always wanted to be in the kilowatt club.
He's in the 1K club now. You surpassed the 1K, you're 111.
So we have 1115 on the roof is the exact watts, and then 200 on the ground, and we'll show you how those can be plugged into the rig, to the trailer, or into the power box that we made back in April. So maybe crawl up on the roof.
You bet.
And one of the reasons that we can't fit another panel right here by the ladder is that Eddie installed a 3rd Max Air fan, which we wanted to be right here over the kitchen, and it turned out that it was actually pre-prepped from OutdoorsRV, and where Eddie put the first hole, it actually was the exact spot of the pre-prep, so that made it a lot easier because it was framed out and it had power.
Yep.
So you can see it's nicely distributed up here. We sort of have the driver's side line in one string, and then we have the passenger side on another string, which also is connected to the ground panels. And the reason that we went that way was essentially to split the system. Since we have a nice barrel roof, we have some angle to these panels. So in the particular place that we are parked, we get morning sun on the passenger side and that orientation, and they're tilted slightly to the east. And then later in the day, the driver's side gets most of the power as the sun creeps over to the west. And inside we'll show you how we hooked them up, because that was quite a big change to the other rig. You can see how Eddie dropped them in this gigantic junction box, which has all the has the bus bars to then drop it into the trailer with number 6 wire, I think.
Yeah, 6 wire. You actually have 2 different sets of plus, minus, or common and negative from each one of your solar charge controllers.
On top of that, we switched to MPPT, which is a long discussion as to what the difference is there, but a little more efficient on each one of these strings. And so we'll show you that when we get inside. These custom made feet Eddie made when we installed this panel on the MiniLite has a little riser so we could use it so it could go over a vent. But it just happens, I don't think you can see it, but underneath there is an attic vent. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, I don't think so. But it's just high enough to go over the attic vent, but it still moves air. But it is tiltable panel, but the way ours is set up right now, probably unlikely we'll ever need to do that. But the feet were taller, so that was the key. So that was helpful. And then also, while we're up here, you see there's another two other Max Airs. These are one fan that's up and open is over the bathroom. You can see the skylight for the shower. And then the one behind it that's closed at the moment is over the bedroom. And that was previously a non-powered, cheapest fan that Outdoors RV could find, apparently. No power, no fan. So now it's all three of these two-way fans with remotes, thermostats. They're wonderful fans. We've been using them for quite a long time. The roof on this unit comparably is
way thicker.
Yeah. Maybe talk about the roof construction and the attic, if you would.
Even though you have kind of an angled roof on the inside ceiling and this one's angled, you still have almost a 4.5 to 5 inch spacing, whereas in the MiniLite it's probably maybe at 3 inch at the most. I believe is what 3.5 inches.
And furthermore, the old roof, not only was it basically just Luan, which is super thin plywood. What would you say? Not more than 1/8 of an inch, but
it's no more than just a little over 1/8 of an inch.
So for a large fellow like myself wandering around the old roof, it was terrifying hearing it crack and the seams buckle as I walked, and to clean panels and do any maintenance. This roof has a much thicker piece of plywood.
Yep. So they did. I don't talk good about RVs much, but they did some thinking when they built this RV.
Well, and if it impresses Eddie Glonek, that's a big deal, because mostly these things
because I built that because of RV manufacturers.
Oh yeah, by the way, I'm all excited to be in the Kilowatt Club, and then look at my neighbor here. That's Eddie's custom built house on wheels, and as you can see, there's a lot of solar power up there with the back side being tilted. Full-time home with his wife and daughter, and hand built by Eddie himself. It's pretty amazing.
You helped with one wall.
That's about all I'm good for. So while we're still up here, you can see Eddie installed the WeBoost antenna that's a custom mount that we can fold down for travel. So it just folds down past that fan and is up as high as it'll go to get better signal. And then the antenna drop goes through the junction box down into the rig. So speaking of the rest of the panels that came off the old rig, you see one 100-watt glass Renogy panel and a Renogy flex panel that we've used for ground in the past. And Eddie hooked me up with a little junction with the MC4 connectors. We left the MC4 on here in case we ever needed to help someone at a campground or somebody who needed a panel quick. The MC4 is pretty common, although they're really not that great. However, so now we have 200 watts coming through this custom cable, and we did the same thing on the old rig. It goes through a trolling motor plug that's nice and water resistant, probably almost waterproof, and now that's connected to the passenger side string and going in through into the solar system, actually through the roof. So it's as if there's two more up on the roof. Also of note, there's the same connector on the power box, also known as the Moderator. You can see it right here. There's a nice post about how this was built, but here's that same Marinco connector. So if we want to charge or run the power box off those panels, it's the same connection, which is super convenient.
You bet. And then while you're here in your truck, something we're going to talk about in a minute is your DC-DC connector. Right now your DC connector is hooked to your Moderator power box, but we added this the last time you were here when we figured out that your MiniLite had all the cracks in the frame. But that is going to be later on. You and I are going to take and add a pigtail from that to where it'll come out and go behind the camper. Right now you're using your extension right here. It's just an extension cord that we put two Anderson water protected Anderson connectors, and it's gonna go to we're gonna end up coming out of the truck with a second one, but it's going to run your DC-DC connector, which you've stowed away really good.
Yeah, I tucked it away.
He's got the DC-DC tucked up under here. I ran it down the frame and then under the flooring until it come into the room where we have the DC-DC unit, which we'll point out to you in a little while.
So this is tucked away inside. Here's your Anderson connector, which is kind of hanging out here, but it's tied through, so it's nice and sturdy, and it snakes back through the rig along this part of the frame. So the purpose of the DC charger is to pump power directly from the truck while we're running, preferably, because it outputs a lot of extra power from the alternator, essentially. And that's hidden away behind a drawer. You have to take a drawer out to see it. There's your Victron Ryan 30 amp Tri-Smart, and that's getting power coming from the truck when the Anderson connector is connected, and then this is then connected to the rest of our power stuff, which is inside this custom piece of furniture that Eddie built for us.
I didn't build this, you did. All I did was hook this on.
So what he's showing you there is this is a Lagoon table. Lagun is the brand, and this was something we used in our other trailer as our dinette, and it's adjustable. You can swing it around, put it in any position. We chose to not cut the size down. This was the original dinette table from the other. It may be a little big, but we'll find out for now. This was a love seat, which we never really loved. The love seat. It had no storage under. It was a sleeper couch, and so it really didn't offer any additional space or storage, and didn't give us a place to put all the power for the new install. Eddie wisely advised us to not use the most obvious probably spot would have been in the pass-through. That could have been easily built as a power setup, but he advised us to not go that direction so that we can have more storage space, and it's really for the best. And so you can see it looks like a bench box with some custom shelves and space for shoes, garbage cans, little items, little landing space for stuff. However, on the inside, and a storage door, but on the inside is a bunch of storage and the whole brains of the operation.
Well, and when you get to the point, you're going to take and put a cushion on here and a basketball cushion. So right now it looks like somebody's sitting on a rock, but pretty soon it's going to be nice.
No, that's a good point. This is in an unfinished state, and it needs a cushion, some pillows. So after you remove this door, you can see the front section is just sort of temporary junk, but lots of storage space. Our 3 Battleborn lithium batteries that came directly from the other rig, which are connected to this new inverter charger transfer switch, I guess, as well, is all included. It's a 3,000 watt inverter, a step up in inverter quality, something that can take full duty.
The Samlex that you had was a good inverter, but I classify them as a part-time inverter. They're not meant for full-time use all the time. That's the reason, we looked around, we couldn't find, started out looking for a Magnum inverter, but we couldn't find one, so that made us decide, okay, instead of just getting another TriStar controller and a different inverter and mix matching all this stuff, all this equipment, we started with the inverter, went for the 3,000 so that you could be able to use the amount of energy that you want to in this coach. And then we wanted to go ahead and have the solar charge controllers be matched with that equipment. And then from there, we went over here to the servo. And the servo is actually where it combines everything together. And that way you can be able to talk to your equipment, understand what you're making and what everything's doing, and control them with the control panel up here. And this is going to be good for you, but it's also going to be good for somebody that's with you, or your wife, or somebody that wants to know if they can cook a little bit more that day in the afternoon, or if you got enough power in the morning to make coffee or something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet to just get it at a glance, and also all the Victron stuff, which is talked via Bluetooth. So I can just take a quick look and see how much power on my phone is coming in through the shunt, which is a smart shunt. The smart shunt also talks to Bluetooth, so you can see power coming in and what your percentage is on Bluetooth. The two solar controllers are Bluetooth. Really clean install from Eddie as usual. Lots of room for this to breathe. Two custom fans set up. We have two 4-inch computer fans that are wired to this thermostat, which is currently firing, I think, at 97 degrees, so that we can move some. This one is pulling fresh air in from the hallway, and this one is pushing the hot air out, and that's to help maintain the temperature in this box when the lid is on. Specifically for the charge controllers, have these fins that do get warm when they're pumping a lot of solar, and then this unit has a fan, and on these sort of where my hand is sticking in is where the hot air comes out on the vent.
Matt's wife wanted a place to do yoga and stuff like that when Matt was working in the other room. And we actually made the bed, took the main support out of the bottom of the bed and built a box that can be moved out of here, and this can be held up with straps, as you see right here. So that way she can come in here and have a flat working area if she wants to do anything, or if she wants to do yoga or anything like that. So this is an open area. This would just be moved down through the hall. And someday down the future, we didn't have enough materials as far out as we are, but he's gonna put a top on this, and this would be kind of like having a coffee table in front of that build out that we did for the battery box and all that kind of stuff.
So this box is on felt sliders, so you can just slide it down the hallway and get it out of the way, and that would open up. Now obviously I'm about ready to get on the road, so I've got things tucked away. There's some dirty clothes and a duffel bag, but this is much more usable space than it was before. It was it had 2 drawers and a storage bin, but it was screwed to the floor, so you couldn't move it, so we lost all that space. I have some pictures of what it looks like when it's empty, and we'll show you. A USB-C power that came from the other unit that's inside of here. This is a 60 watt USB-C, and we added back in the PepWave, which is our cellular router, as well as the WeBoost. This is little antennas for the WeBoost, and so that's coming all in powered up behind this cabinet. We also added in a pressure accumulator, which is buried that you can't see. That lives down under here where the pump is. That helps even out the pumping, pulsing from the water pump. And then we put in a drinking water spout, which goes through a ceramic filter that lives under here behind all these bags. You can see it. So nice filtered drinking water, and so we don't have to use bottled water. So another mod that we had on the other rig was to have monitoring cameras. We just happen to be standing near one of them. So this is one of the 4. We have one on the left and right, and then 2 on the back, one up high and one at the license plate. But one of the better mods for a travel trailer, if you can do it, are these strong arms, and Eddie moved them. I don't know if it was much harder to do than the other one, but
it wasn't that much harder to do, because the way the frame's built on this one, of course, is a whole lot easier to mount them. And the other thing is we had already set it up on the other trailer, so it was just take off one and put it on the other.
This helps the stabilizers. That triangle arm configuration makes the rig much more solid in all directions. So if in high wind or just walking around at night, it keeps the trailer from wobbling around and feeling like you're on a boat. In the back, you can see the back strong arms use only one post, but you can see how it's connected to the stabilizer and then up to the frame here where the hitch is. Makes a huge difference, like I was saying, specifically with high wind. And while we're back here, I can show you somewhat Frankenstein version of the camera here, but getting power from the license plate light, and then we put a hole for the other observation camera, which got power from that middle light, and that gives us 4 cameras for great visibility on the road. One minor new toy is Elon Musk's Starlink, which has been working great. We've had it just for the week so far, but doing a great job, bringing in about 100, sometimes 120 megabits. This is just powered from AC power that runs on the 75-foot cable, which is going in through the slide.